let me tell you something. A person that young to get hundreds of millions of dollars.
He's a god.
Serious? No, you're not. You are entitled. You are a white man, and you have done some shit.
From Brooklyn.
You have done some grimy shit to
From
get that
Brooklyn.
money.
Straight from Brooklyn, the god.
Martin Shkreli's story could be so easy. Genius kid hustles his way out of Brooklyn and for a brief moment in time becomes the world's most notorious hedge fund manager. Screws up and gets sentenced to 7 years in prison and tens of millions of penalties. Finally gets released in 2022, learned his lessons and proceeds to live a normal life as a functioning member of society. But Martin Shkreli is not normal, and this might only be his origin story. The hero arc is just about to begin. Martin Shkreli reinvented himself.
So you had $100 in 2009. How'd you get your first million?
I started a drug company called Retrophin.
From notorious pharma entrepreneur and hedge fund manager.
In response to all of this attention and doctors and patient groups saying they can't access this drug, are you gonna change the price?
No.
To crypto bro and top tier degenerate of epic proportions.
You're a
You know
hoe.
what you are? You're a small dick.
Who is now taking on the crypto industry.
We actually had a really funny little group in prison. It was sort of tongue-in-cheek, but we called it Crypto Thugs. We were just like a bunch of guys that talked about crypto.
In times like these, Martin Shkreli might not be the hero we need, but the one we deserve. And as a nascent business silverback, you better become aware of Shkreli's full story. And it's funny to watch. Today in Based Biographies, we want to explore another fascinating persona that is Martin Shkreli. Why degenerates around the world revere him, and what lessons Master Shkreli can teach young ambitious babybacks trying to make it big in business. Brooklyn, March 1983. The city's reputation for crime and disorder is very much a part of New Yorkers' daily lives. The illegal drug trade flourishes, causing the murder rate to soar and dividing the city into areas ruled by different drug lords. This period becomes known as the crack epidemic. Maybe it is coincidence, or maybe it is the absolute giga chad aura of Martin Shkreli as an infant, but things start getting better around the time Martin is born. The 1980s are a time of restrained optimism in New York. The boom on Wall Street is fueling the speculative real estate market, and unemployment numbers are dropping noticeably. Martin started a couple of hedge funds, made millions and became famous, probably all before losing his virginity. For sure, he must have come from a privileged family background. White privilege.
But what you are is a wigger, a freaking entitled white man.
Martin is born to Albanian and Croatian immigrant parents with little money, both of whom did janitorial odd jobs. One of his family members suffers from treatment-resistant depression. This gets Shkreli interested in chemistry. And when his dad gives him a copy of George Soros' book, The Alchemy of Finance, he becomes intrigued by finance too.
I got interested in stocks as a kid, and my friends made fun of me all the time.
His idol?
It's Pikachu!
Bill Gates. People said Microsoft was the evil empire, but I just saw an empire. Martin decides to study business administration, giving him lots of job options. He attends Baruch College, a public college in New York City that has a tendency of generating controversial figures. In the US, public college is the code word for I cannot afford private college and rivals the prestige level of KPMG when compared to Blackstone. The Ivy League schools are all private, for example. Some guy had the brilliant idea to invent the term public Ivies for exceptionally prestigious public universities. But have you ever heard about public Ivies?
I think not!
Even more impressive that Martin manages to get into the hedge fund Kramer Berkowitz at the young age of 17. That was Jim Cramer's hedge fund, a guy that now works for CNBC and is mostly known for giving subpar stock advice on TV.
My people have been in this game for 25 years, and they are losing their jobs, and these firms are going to go out of business, and he's nuts! They're nuts! They know nothing!
And right off the bat, Martin displays a talent for making money. Only about 15% of drugs that begin clinical trials are ever approved by the FDA, but along the way, there is plenty of opportunity for hype. And biotech firms love to hype themselves up. Lots of inflated claims without being anywhere close to bringing a product to market. If you manage to smoke out these inflated claims at biotech firms and short them, you can make a lot of money. And that's how Martin gained some first important reputation points while working at Kramer Berkowitz. A critical ingredient when trying to raise a fund and get massively rich.
I'm different. Yeah, I'm a capitalist. I'd love to make an even bigger fortune than I've got now.
Martin Shkreli graduates at age 21 with a bachelor's degree. He has short stints at Intrepid Capital Management and UBS Wealth Management. Here he not only learns how to quantitatively evaluate OkCupid matches, but he also strengthens his financial Excel monkey skills. Now he is ready for his first big baller move. In 2006, he starts his first hedge fund, Elea Capital Management, which basically goes bust 2 years later. This is actually a funny story. In 2007, Lehman Brothers sued Elea for failing to cover a put option transaction. Essentially, Shkreli bet that markets would go down, but they went up, and Shkreli's Elea Capital had not enough capital to cover the put. So Lehman Brothers sued them. They won the case, and Martin owed another $2.3 million to Lehman Brothers. But in a funny turn, Lehman itself collapsed before it could collect on the ruling. In any case, Martin's hedge fund goes bust, and he decides to do the only logical thing that any other degenerate would wholeheartedly approve of. He starts a second hedge fund.
The company is called MSMB Capital, a hedge fund that specializes in biotech and pharmaceutical investing. It's a red-hot industry on Wall Street.
With MSMB, the king of degens wants to do what he always did best: short biotech stocks. But this is not all. There is one more element, and it perfectly explains why Martin today is such a fluent speaker of degen. On top of shorting companies, MSMB describes flaws of the companies they are shorting on the internet, in various stock trading chat rooms. Shkreli is shitposting about various stocks way before it becomes cool, and he gets even more creative than that at a company he starts under the MSMB umbrella, Retrophin. Retrophin is a perfectly normal company with an emphasis on biotechnology to create treatments for rare diseases. Nothing suspicious here. Oh, and they shitpost about Retrophin and other biotech companies using gangster rapper accounts on Twitter. For example, look at this beauty of a tweet by Legit Biotech.
Retrophin, this bad boy gonna rip higher, and them sucker ass fools going to still be crying.
In a short but strange incident, 3 alias Twitter accounts are found to be under the control of unidentified Retrophin employees. They match the IP address of Retrophin's headquarters. In the spirit of true degeneracy, the accounts hype up Retrophin's stock and shit talk about other drug stocks. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. In a sad turn of our hero's story, investigations lead to Shkreli's arrest by the FBI after officials start looking into his tenure at MSB Capital Management and Retrophin. It turns out, when raising money for Retrophin, Martin did not disclose everything that was going on behind the scenes at MSMB.
He took a very aggressive short position on a stock called Orexogen. And that stock trade failed spectacularly. It blew up and it lost all of MSMB's, or effectively all of MSMB Capital's money. So he was broke.
According to Stewart, Shkreli keeps the destruction of the fund to himself, even hiding it from employees.
Retrophin's board decides to replace Shkreli in September 2014, and he resigns from the company the following month. On top, after Shkreli's departure, Retrophin files a $65 million lawsuit against him. 31-year-old Shkreli has fallen deep, Failed companies, lawsuits, millions of dollars owed. Is this the end of Shkreli? This is where the plot thickens. His next move is going to forever cement his status as an S-tier investor and degenerate of epic proportions. A true Steven Schwartzman for the masses, someone the plebs can relate to. Shkreli founds his next company, Turing Pharmaceuticals, in early 2015. In a controversial move, Turing acquires the medication Daraprim from another pharma company for $55 million. 1 month later, he increases the price of the drug from $13.50 per pill to $750. Overnight, Shkreli becomes the poster child of capitalistic greed in America, earning him the title of America's most hated man.
Martin Shkreli there, who was called the most hated man in America.
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 Something that is often forgotten is that Martin actually provides a lot of value to the community. His introduction to investing and finance live streams have been clicked hundreds of thousands of times. He probably helped more young ambitious babybacks get financially literate than any other person on this planet. Hell, the guy is on stream almost more than Gary Vee. And that's the beautiful thing about Shkreli. Usually if we hear about giga chats in the media, it's very difficult to form an opinion about them. You take the limited talks and interviews they gave on mainstream media and you run with it. But Martin offers hours on hours of authentic live streams. And if you watch his videos, you get a sense for the real Shkreli. Not just what the media presents in an attempt to blind us, but a persona that is deeply empathetic and caring. And a bit of a degen, of course.
Yeah, fuck the New York Post and fuck you.
Trying to talk shit? Where you at, Jason? Where you at, pussy boy?
Well, I'm a genius, and I'm rich. Me and other smart people and a lot of power. You and other poor, stupid people without any power.
I don't give a fuck about your job. Fuck your job. Nobody gives a fuck about your job.
And also the price hike of the Daraprim drug. Is it really just an egoistic move of a ruthless capitalist as portrayed by the mainstream media? Or is there more to it?
There's only one producer for Daraprim because it didn't make any money for anyone. So in my estimation, there was going to be 0 producers for Daraprim at that rate. The bigger risk for Daraprim isn't that it's too expensive. The biggest risk for Daraprim is that it's not expensive enough. There's never been a new drug for toxoplasmosis in 75 years, and there's nobody who's been interested in making a new drug because there's no life cycle or continuum of profit in that field. Think about the person who's dying of Daraprim-resistant toxoplasmosis. Look them in the eyes and tell them that they shouldn't have the new drug because they think that an insurance company should pay less money for Daraprim than. I have a friend that's dying of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I actually spent $20 million failing to discover a drug for Charlie. Making a drug doesn't require a walkathon or a smile on your friend's face or anything like that, or for you to like me. Making a drug requires $50, $100, $200 million, and someone like me who has the balls to say that they're willing to make enough money to save a life. And I don't really care about your dumb friend or you or anyone else. I care about people like Charlie and his mom Tracy. Thanks for calling.
But all of this doesn't matter. The price increase makes him public enemy number 1, and the authorities are eager to uncover any potential wrongdoings from the past. Around that entire time, it feels like watching a drama unfold in front of your eyes, and you know exactly the entire situation is not getting better for our protagonist. Shkreli is subpoenaed to appear before a committee of the US House of Representatives to answer questions about the Daraprim price increase.
We've been waiting for Shkreli to make a statement. If he does, here he is. Let's take a listen.
On the advice of counsel, I will not be giving an opening statement.
I want to ask you a few questions. What do you say to that single pregnant woman who might have AIDS, no income, and she needs Daraprim in order to survive? What do you say to her when she has to make that choice? What do you say to her?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Shkreli invokes his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination in response to every question from committee members, except for 2. One, to confirm the pronunciation of his last name.
And is it pronounced Shkreli?
Yes, sir.
And another one to affirm he was listening.
Are you listening?
Yes.
On December 17, 2015, Shkreli gets arrested by the FBI. Ironically enough, his conviction has zero to do with the raising of drug prices.
He was convicted of 2 counts of securities fraud and 1 of conspiracy to commit securities fraud. The first 2 counts had to do with former hedge funds he ran. He's been convicted of lying to investors, misleading them in order to raise money. The final count was about illegally controlling or attempting to control the share price of his former biotechnology company, Retrophin.
Shkreli describes his prosecution as a witch hunt of epic proportions, but he's also happy. Even though he was found guilty on 3 counts, he was found not guilty on 5 other counts. A short moment of relief, but it wouldn't be a perfect story without another fuck up. On September 13th, 2017, his bail is revoked. Martin tweets that he's offering $5,000 for a strand of Hillary Clinton's hair. The judge doesn't like that kind of Wall Street bets humor and perceives the tweet as solicitation to assault. Shkreli apologizes for the post, but is sent to a detention center while awaiting sentencing. On March 9th, 2018, Shkreli is sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Have we reached the ending of the story? Certainly not. This was just the origin story. The hero arc is just about to begin. Shkreli was released mid-May from prison and is currently in community confinement. This refers to home confinement or a halfway house. Shkreli's projected release date from the Bureau of Prisons is September 14th. Wall Street bets, Senate hearings, price hikes, and of course some serious concern for Harambe.
It's painful to even talk about this.
You would think things cannot get more degenerate than this. But have you heard about crypto?
We actually had a really funny little group in prison. It was sort of tongue-in-cheek, but we called it Crypto Thugs. We were just like a bunch of guys that talked about crypto. And I spent a lot of time just teaching them about like what cryptography was, why Bitcoin is anything, why it even matters, like why is it useful, why is it interesting.
Shkreli has built tremendous knowledge in crypto and hinted at entrepreneurial involvement in DAOs and crypto companies multiple times in live streams after his release. Crypto is still one of the least regulated areas in finance, and Martin is probably one of the most regulated guys in finance. You know what I mean. On top, Shkreli continues right where he left off. Live streams, Twitter degeneracy, Wall Street bets, AMAs. And in times like these, having a massive following of degenerates directly converts into power through various forms of democratization of retail investing. And I know what my fellow babybacks are thinking now. Kevin, how can I become more like Shkreli? For one, Shkreli has incredibly deep knowledge in a couple of domains. He is what I always call a polymath in my videos. That's the golden middle between being a single domain specialist and a generalist you want to be aiming for. For Shkreli, these domains are at least pharma, investing, crypto, and League of Legends. And another lesson from Shkreli: build your dreams in public. How many of you want to get everything perfect before you post something online? Look impeccable before you turn on the webcam. Fuck that! Martin is the definition of keeping it real, figuring things out as you go, and most importantly, not giving a single fuck about what others think. These traits, paired with a healthy portion of anti-ADHD, probably got Martin to where he is today. And leveraging his divinely unique skill set, who knows what great feats the god of degeneracy is going to set out to achieve next. I would put some cautious money on Martin making some small moves in crypto, and the majority of his big moves taking place in pharma over the coming months and years. But who knows? The only thing we can be certain of is that our hero story is only starting to transition into the main part of the narrative.
Two or 3 minutes left here. Let's see. Hair okay? Is the hair okay? How we doing? Shirt okay? Bernie okay in the back? 90 seconds. Hey everyone, welcome to the reveal for Drug Like.
This is my new Web3 project. Thanks for coming. I have been working on this even while I was in prison, but certainly since the day I was released. And this is a new Web3 drug discovery platform. We just put out this press release. This is a really interesting and exciting project. Again, I've been working on for a long time. I've used computational chemistry software for a long time. This is software used to discover medicine. So this is a protein. The green ribbons are the protein. Inside the protein, you can see a drug. Here's the drug I'm highlighting. So this kind of software is normally very expensive. Our competitor charges $50,000 to use software like this. We've made it free. And not only that, but it's also on the web now. So you can actually go to this website right now and start working on medicine that normally would be really, really expensive. So anyway, that's the project. That's the reveal for today. And I really appreciate your attention and interest. And you'll be hearing a lot about DrugLike hopefully soon. Why use the blockchain for that? Yeah, so basically I think that, I'm glad you asked that question. So if you wanted to do a billion compound screen, you couldn't really do that without a cluster of computers. So you could use AWS, but AWS has their own profit margin. And the problem with AWS, of course, is you have vendor lock-in. You have lots of issues with sort of, their margin, their cost. Also provisioning. I mean, ours is a sort of a one-click solution. So it's very difficult to actually provision AWS. Even if you have the money to do so, you need development expertise that most chemists don't have. So, here you can just point and click. So that's the obvious reason. So yeah, the miners of the coin will earn the coin, and the people that want a job being done will pay the coin in essence. And you could pay Ethereum or Bitcoin, or you could use our native token, MSI. Yeah, anybody around the world can decide to start up a project. So you can imagine like a breast cancer charity starting up a project for a breast cancer protein, and the whole world donating compute time to calculate which small molecule could potentially fit best inside the protein. So you could do a volunteer compute basis, or, and here's the GDP pocket of KRAS. I actually think GDP binders could be effective for KRAS, but that's a whole other story. There have been a number of companies that have made GDP analogs. A lot of people don't like that approach and want to make a dimer interface inhibitor, which I've also looked at. But this is kind of one of the holy grails of big pharma. And why not? Why can't it be you, the viewer watching right now? Why can't it be you that actually makes the first drug ever that functionally inhibits this enzyme? Maybe it's your computer that does that. Maybe you get the patent, and maybe you get to develop that drug and license it to Pfizer for $1 billion. That's the hope.